Well, I'd like to put out this video, and actually, I'm going to put it out as tame as a way as possible because I don't want to say anything bad against Governor Rick Scott, other than what's published in Wikipedia, which is basically a watered down version of really what went on. Um, Now, first off, I want to say politically, not going to say very nice things about Rick Scott here, but politically, I am a lifelong Republican. So Rick Scott's a Republican, and politically, I would never vote for Jeb Bush. I think I did vote for him for the governor because, but he was a governor in Florida, right? And I don't know about this guy, Mister. And Florida is a fairly conservative state, depending on where. If you're talking North Florida, South Florida, I'm not in South Florida, and I'm a fairly conservative person. But I could say that one thing with conservatism and medical marijuana, actually medical marijuana oil versus smoking it. Um, Cannabis used to be one of the main ingredients in all the medicines before they came out with the Stamp Tax Act in the 1940s and made the growing of hemp and cannabis illegal in this country. Florida being the Sunshine State with one of the most productive aquifers in the entire world, with plenty of also natural rainfall and showers besides all the sunshine we have. We could be on easy street money wise growing hemp, and even if it's just industrial hemp, we stayed away from the drug related medicinal hemp, just hemp. But they won't do that because people in both parties, Republican and Democrat, are tied in with the oil industry and the pharmaceutical industries, and also the uh, not just that, but also the nylon industry and the paper pulp industries, like in the case of some of the publishers out there that we had in the past. Now, Jeb Bush, he's in the clique. I'm not a fan. I'm definitely not a fan of Hillary Clinton. So if you understand where I'm coming from on this video, um, actually more of a Trump supporter. Hopefully, he's going to do good for the country. Now, Rick Scott, on the plus side, he has endorsed Donald Trump. But let me get on to something here. I'm going to get on here as tame as possible, but you're going to see there's serious cause for concern having Rick Scott as governor of Florida. And again, I'm a lifelong Republican. The only time I deviated from the Republican Party is I think I voted for Libertarian a couple times. Never even voted for Democrat. Rick Scott's a Republican. So, that being said, he's actually never lived in the state of Florida, so he went to become governor of the state of Florida. Now, that's something else that tells you, should give you a heads up. And actually, all of this is related to medical. He was born in Bloomington, Illinois. He went to the University of Missouri in Kansas City. Also in Dallas, Texas. He was involved. He's in a Dallas firm, Johnson and Swanson. Here's where the big thing comes about. He resigned as chief executive of Columbine Hospital Corporation of America in 1997 amid a controversy over the company's business and Medicare billing practices. He was succeeded by Thomas Frist Jr., Columbine HCA Hospital Corporation of America, which is the biggest hospital corporation in the United States. Ultimately admitted to 14 felonies. Now, Rick Scott never got charged with a felony. The company did. So it was the biggest payout to the government ever, with over $600 million. Okay, that was the largest fraud settlement in U.S. history. Scott was not implicated, but the company did have 14 felonies. This is the thing with corporations. You have this veil of protection over all individuals, and that's why the corporate racket needs to go, especially out of the medical profession. Scott announced his intention to run for governor in Florida in 2010. He narrowly defeated Bill McCollum in a Bill McCollum should have won. Governor Scott spent $75 million of his own money in the process of getting this election. Why? Why would you do this? And there's no clear-cut, guaranteed, I could put my finger on an answer, but obviously, why do people seek office and spend so much money to get in office. Usually there's something profitable for them involved. Now, it's no secret that Florida is known as the retiree capital of the world. People flock from the Northeast and come down here. So Rick Scott's net worth was estimated at 219 million, say 2010, 83 million in 2012, because he spent it on the election, right? He really poured the money into the election. Then it's been increasing since that time. We really don't know what it is now. It's worth almost 100. He's almost 150 million and increasing. So he did endorse Donald Trump. One good thing. But I'm not sure about this guy. He was also, like I said, he was born in Illinois. He was raised in North Kansas City. He was in Texas. He's never really in Florida. So it reminds me, not that I'm going to compare him directly with Hillary Clinton, but how Hillary Clinton decided to go run to be the center of New York, and she never lived in New York, get an apartment in New York. It's like that type of deal. So what's the financial incentive? Well, Hospital Corporation of America, he's no longer involved in it, but it does say a lot of what happened, and getting back more on the detailed fraud and investigation. Now, I know seniors don't know about this. They just know, hey, Rick Scott's the governor, but what's the big attraction of being a governor in Florida, question mark, when, you never lived in Florida. You just decided to be governor of Florida, but Florida is the medical capital of the world. This is all the seniors coming down there need medical. What the hell's a big industry down here? Medical, right? And actually, I'm going to get into some other oblique angles on this too, because it's not all about seniors. It's about drug rehab, and it's about Baker acting people and all this other shit. There's a lot of crap going on in the state that's absolutely criminal to the max. Fraud and investigation. We'll go on to this title. This is right from Wikipedia, and this is the Wikipedia article on Hospital Corporation of America. So in 1997, the company was part of a fraud investigation initiated by a number of governmental departments in the United States. A number of them, not just one. Later that year, Rick Scott resigned as chairman. He later became the 45th and current governor of Florida, right? The case was settled in 2002 at a reported $2 billion cost to the Hospital Corporation of America. That made it the largest fraud settlement in U.S. history. Like, again, the corporation got charged with and admitted to 14 felonies. The corporation that Rick Scott was the chairman of, right? Rick Scott got nothing, okay? So, Rick Scott is squeaky clean, I guess, right? I'm just warning people on this deal. It's like, I don't know why people don't put this out as public information. You'll never see this on, Tampa Tribune or whatever papers out there. They're afraid. Am I afraid? Yeah. So I'm giving it to you right from Wikipedia, the most watered down version of it. So following the raids by all these governmental agencies, the Columbine Hospital Corporation of America Board of Directors forced Rick Scott to resign as chairman and CEO. It's quite obvious if this stuff was the biggest $2 billion settlement of, fines and fees and the biggest fraud settlement in U.S. history, and Rick Scott was the chairman and CEO of the company. Yeah, he didn't know what was going on. Okay. Anyway, so when he retired, he paid a settlement of, he was paid. So they forced him to resign, and he got almost $10 million. Okay? $9.88 million. Then he left with 10 million shares of the stock worth at $350 million at the time. So he spends $75 million of his own money to be the Florida governor. So what is this telling you? Do I have to paint this picture? I can't say, I don't want to say anything more than that. He's involved in, he's also got, he's involved in some other investments, and he owns something else in this state. It's Rick Scott Investments, I believe it is. Um, and there it is. So not, after he left HCA, Columbia HCA, that was located, I think, in Tennessee, Hospital Corporation of America. In 1997, he launched Rick L. Scott Investments, based in Florida. Originally in Stamford, Connecticut, moved to Florida. So he's involved in Rick Scott Investments, which now on his behalf, which is pretty much all these doctors today, they're kind of jumping on the natural bandwagon and stuff a little bit with the herbal formulas, and everybody's getting in on it. But yeah, you as seniors here in Florida are, you know, prime crime pickings for what we need to fill the coffers of the people on the top. And you know, it was, well, who was it? Dwight D. Eisenhower warned on his farewell speech, was not later noted till later on, many years later, about the military-industrial complex. Well, in Florida, we have the political medical complex. Okay, that's really what the hell it is. And you know, who's at top of the political medical complex? Governor Rick Scott. Now, I don't really, this guy, I mean, it could be worse, okay? I mean, we could have Hillary Clinton as governor, for crying out loud. I mean, that would really be worse. I mean, God. She'd probably be giving you sugar pills instead of your pharmaceutical medicines or something, and charging you double for them. Um, and like I said, I've been a lifelong Republican. Rick Scott's a Republican. But I'm telling you the truth on this. I've gave you the very much watered down version of it. It's all from public information on Wikipedia. I'm not trying to upset anybody or anything. Actually, one thing people should really do to lobby in America, in Florida specifically, is one, lobby for growing industrial hemp. We can actually grow our, industrial hemp grows more fuel per acre, 10 times as much fuel per acre that we can use in cars. It's called hempoline, than corn-based. And Florida's got great growing seasons, and it doesn't destroy the soil. We can also use it for raw materials, and it can actually go into structures. Hemp fibers can be mixed in types of concrete to make it stronger, and as part of the material in building blocks for home construction. Now, as far as the medicinal side of it, I am definitely not a fan of this smoking marijuana stuff. To tell you the truth, I know the younger people are going to hate me for that, but I personally don't think it should be illegal. I don't smoke or drink at all. I don't drink at all. I don't smoke any marijuana, which actually probably puts me many times more squeaky clean than most of the police and sheriffs and district attorneys and judges in the state of Florida, to be quite honestly, because they do one of the above. They either do some kind of drugs or they drink, and I do neither. So, but I will go to bat for people that want to have legalized marijuana, because it's not really, it's not so bad if you don't do too much of it. I think, people that do a lot of that marijuana smoking, they get lethargic and lazy and things. I noticed that, but if they do a little bit of it, I think I don't know, it just kind of calms them down a little bit. It's probably not so bad at all. But where I think medical marijuana really ought to be explored in the state of Florida should be with the medical marijuana oil, not the intake of smoke. The oil itself, the oil from the medical marijuana, which can be topically applied to cancerous cells for maybe, I know sunlight's very, very, very good for you, and Florida has an abundance of sunlight, but if you overdo it a lot and you get a lot of sunburn, I'm not, just to say it, I know that sunscreen is stupid and all that kind of garbage, but if you get burned a lot in the state of Florida with sunburn a lot, you could get some types of skin cancer if you overdo it a lot. But medical marijuana oil would, topically applied to the skin, would cure that. I don't know why they don't allow this to be grown in maybe restricted areas that are under supervision, that the drug wouldn't be released to the public or anything like that, because they could do everything else with these. Actually, 99% of the medical drugs out there are very harmful to people. Now, am I somebody that's like against Rick Scott? Not necessarily, but um, he's got bad elements to him. He reminds me of like the Jeb Bush camp or something, or the Mitt Romney. But like again, like I'm telling you, never, I've never voted for a Democrat in my life. I mean, there might be some like Traficant from Illinois. I probably would have voted for him if he was running in the state of Florida. But he's since retired, and he had an accident with his tractor and stuff. There's some Democrats I think are very good. Um, very few, but there's a lot of caution that needs to be um, displayed or just put on display here about what's going on in the state of Florida and what's going on between the political system and the medical system. And there is incentive to keep those profit margins higher and higher and higher. So there's incentive to, if there's something wrong with a senior, they have a medical problem, to keep them in these hospitals or keep them in, these assisted living homes, because they gotta pull people in or else they go out of business. And how do they pay for it? They take your assets. So I'm never a fan of a guy that makes this kind of money, and it's quite obvious. You can see right from Wikipedia. If he wasn't personally involved, I can't see how he wasn't as a CEO of the company, of the biggest medical fraud cases in history in the United States. And here he comes to Florida. He's got a medical company that moved to Florida. He had it moved to Florida. Um, what was his incentive to spending $75 million of his own money to become governor in a hotly contested, very narrowly won seat? Now, again, I want to tell you, I'm not a liberal. So don't go thinking I'm criticizing this guy as some bleeding heart liberal. I don't even agree with retiring. If it's my way, I want to live to be um, well over 120 years old and stay very active. I don't ever want to retire. I'm not a sit on your ass freaking looking person looking for government handouts. I'm not one of those type of people. And I'm an advocate of in a pro-Confederate cause person too, if you want to put it that way. I'm a member of the Sons of Confederacy. Um, but I see some real problems with this guy being as governor of Florida, big time. And you seniors need to take note. Now, when it comes to elections, many times you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Maybe the guy that Rick Scott defeated would have been worse. I don't know. I don't know. But you should be aware, and my key word or key phrase for this is beware of not what Dwight Eisenhower talked about in his farewell speech in 1960, I believe, or 1959, wherever it was, about the military-industrial complex, but beware about the political, medical complex that's in Florida, and it seems like Rick Scott is at the head of it. I'm going to tell you, man. I'm going to tell you. And I'm probably going to do more videos on medical corruption in Florida and the Department of Children and Families, their incompetence, what's going on in the state, not only with seniors, but with people that have kids. Um, it's like the state seems to think they need to run the lives of all the kids. And if you leave your kid outside by mistake because you got back from work late, they'll take your kids away from you. There's a lot of stupid examples like that because somebody reported them to the Department of Children and Families, another corrupt organization. And what happens is we got the government investigating the government, which is useless. It's useless. We don't need this. As a matter of fact, I think everybody in the state of Florida could be self-autonomous and just grow their own damn food. And if we can actually grow hemp, industrial hemp, not the type of stuff you smoke, but the stuff that's like grows 12 feet high, we'd be energy self-sufficient in this state. We would not even have to import oil. We'd also have an export product. Food for thought, but the deal is when we got certain people in charge, it's never going to happen that way. And Hospital Corporation of America. Yeah, anyway. The biggest um, hospital corporation in the United States. In other words, the biggest of, it had, what is 168 hospitals, 116 freestanding surgery centers in the United States, United Kingdom. So, got charged with billions of dollars worth of fees for fines when Rick Scott was the head of it. I kind of repeated myself in this video, but just to make people informed of what's going on. And I'm an active person. I don't sit out there in the golf course and, and hit the ball, little white ball around. You're going to hear a lot more from me on this channel, probably about the healthcare problems that are going in Florida and a number of issues. And I'm a fighter, so be it. And nothing in this video can be misconstrued as exaggeration or hyperbole, whatever you want to call it, hyperbolic exaggeration or whatever. It's taken from the most watered down public source information going, which is Wikipedia. But obviously, you're not going to get this from your papers, from the Miami Herald or the Tampa Tribune or whatever the hell else is out there, the Orlando Sentinel or the Jacksonville, whatever. You're not going to get it from this people because the media in the state of Florida is fairly under the thumb of the political pressures there, that really run the state. And obviously, when you're talking, they're under the political pressures. You're talking about, Rick Scott and company, and it's not just him. There's a whole labyrinth. I mean, anybody that was helped along by Rick Scott is beholden to him, and vice versa, that type of thing. There's a lot of corruption going on in this state. It's maybe not the most corrupt state. I mean, I could probably say New York, New Jersey. California's got a lot of, Texas has got a lot of corruption. But Florida now being the third largest state in the union, I should say, I wish it was the Confederacy. We'd be the second largest then, right after Texas. We were the Confederacy. But it's along with large population goes large corruption. Probably, which is telling me that I'm probably going to go to Tennessee and live up in the mountains. That'll be the place to retire for me. To hell with this place, because whatever most people do, I always found it's best in my interest to go away from the crowd. If the crowd retires to Florida and I decide, well, I'm going to retire, quote unquote, more or less, I think I would go to Tennessee mountains, in the Smoky Mountains, and to hell with the freaking having access to the medical care. I'll just rely on exercise, chopping wood, and good health and good nature. The oldest things that make the body strong versus funny little meds being sold by people with hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's my information on this. And if you want to look at the articles in the Wikipedia in detail, I'll give you links to them. And again, like I said, I'm not bringing out anything special here, but still it is very much unknown in the state, especially by people that are transplants and are coming here and or thinking about coming here to retire. It's probably not the place to retire, to tell you the truth, quite honestly. When I retire or go semi-retired, which I don't really plan to be semi-retired, I plan to be active, I am not going to be living in the state of Florida. It's going to be in the mountains in Tennessee.